All right, guys, so we are looking today at factoring something with 3 terms. So on Friday, we looked at just, hey guys, on Friday, we looked at pulling out a GCF only. Today, we're going to look at just factoring something with 3 terms. And then tomorrow, we're going to put GCF and what we do today, we're going to put them together. Okay? So just kind of hang tight for that part. So before we get into actually factoring, let's kind of take a step back. Let's see where we're coming from. So if I gave you x plus 4 times x minus 3. No. You'd have to distribute, right? You'd have x squared minus 3x plus 4x minus 12, right? And then what would you do after you distributed? Good. You'd put your like terms together. So we'd have x squared. That's a positive 1x minus 12. So factoring is going from this part, and we're taking it back to where it started. Okay? So we're unfoiling. If you like that word there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that. It's coming. So let's take a look at the next one. We're going to do 2 more on here. I know it's kind of overkill. You guys know how to distribute, but I want you to see something. Okay? So if I distribute over here, x squared minus 7x minus 2x plus 14. Right? And then you have like terms. So x squared minus 9x plus 14. Did you have your homework from Friday, Adrian? You and I are going to have issues this semester, Adrian. All right. And last one up here. Plus 30. Like terms. We know how to do this, right? We all know how to distribute. All right, but my whole reason why we did 3 different ones is I want us to look at the signs. Because before I even try to mess with the numbers of factoring, you got to know what your signs are. If we don't know what the signs are, then we're going to mess up everything else. So we have some options, right? Our last numbers, I have 2 of them that turned out to be positives, and I had 2 of them, the last number was a negative. How are you getting the last number? Where's that coming from? It's from multiplying, right? It's the last part of your distribute. We did 4 times negative 3. We had negative 2 times negative 7, right? 5 times 6. So that last number is coming from multiplication. That's where we need to start when we're talking signs, okay? When that last one was negative, what types of numbers did we have? 1 plus, 1 minus. Here, my last one's positive. It came from, my last one here is positive, and it came from 2 positives. So if your last sign is positive, that means the signs in my parentheses were either both plus or they were both minus. Now students then are like, well, how do I know which one it is? Plus, minus. It tells you. Okay, but the first thing we always look for is the last sign. The last one's positive, our signs are the same. They're both plus or they're both minus. And if the last one's negative, you got 1 of each. 1 plus, 1 minus. All right. So again, this is just trying to reiterate what we just kind of talked about. So if the last sign is positive, both factors have the same sign. And then this one tells us that they're both plus. The last one's positive, so they have the same sign. That one's negative, means they're both negative. But it's always based on that last sign first. That's where we're always looking. And if the last sign is negative, then we know that one kind of, it's true, but not true always. If the last one's negative, they're different. Okay, and I try to, hold on. I threw it up here in the top corner of all your slides. Okay, you're always looking at the last sign. If the last one's positive, your signs are the same. If your last one's negative, they're opposite. 1 plus, 1 minus. Okay, and we'll get lots of practice with that. So if you're looking at your flow chart, remember I gave you a flow chart on colored paper on Friday? Yes? But again, this is just, I pulled a piece of it off of your flow chart. So we looked at GCF on Friday. Now we're branching into if I have just 3 terms. Okay, how do you factor something with 3 terms? So they're going to fall in one of 2 types of categories. They always have an x squared, a bx, and a c. Sometimes there's a number in front, sometimes there's not. Okay, these ones are easier, and you will see why as we go through some of these. These ones are a little harder. Okay, but I'm going to attack these the same way. I used to teach them differently, and students just got confused. It's easier for me to just attack this the same way, so eventually you start to notice and pick up on the shortcuts to it. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you will list the factors of A and C. So all the things that you multiply to get A, all the things you multiply to get C. And then we'll put in our signs. The last one's positive, they're the same, either both plus or both minus. The last one's negative, they're opposite, 1 plus, 1 minus. And then you're going to do like a guess and check process. And some of you will guess right the first time and you'll be done, and some of you will guess every option possible before you actually find it to move on. The more you do this, the better you get about recognizing the numbers. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Okay, so first thing we're looking at, we're going to set up our parentheses for our factors. That's the first step. Okay, let's set it up, get ourselves ready. Remember, we are like unfoiling, right? We're taking it back to the 2 sets of parentheses that we distributed together. All right, so if I'm looking at this, what are my options for A? What do you multiply to get 2? Just 1 times 2, right? It's my only option. Don't go 2 and 1 and 1 and 2. It's all the same. 1 times 2. All right, what are my options for C? What do you multiply to get a 12? Now, I'm going to ask that you make nice ordered list, okay? 1 and 12. There you go. 2 and 6. 3 and 4. So I'm listing all of my factors for A and my factors for C. Now, what about B, the part in the middle? Why am I not even talking about that? Where does that one come from? It came from those like terms, right? If you flip back, yeah, my board's going to cooperate here. If you flip all the way back to where we were doing these, this middle number, the 1x, it came from my like terms in the middle, right? The 11 came from the like terms of 6 and 5. The negative 9 came from the like terms in the middle. So they're coming from those, when you're distributing, putting like terms together, that's where that one comes from. So I'm not as concerned about him at the minute. So we will start. There we go. All right, so let's talk signs. Before I plug numbers in and start guessing and checking, you got to know what your signs are. So we always look at the last one. My last term is positive. So what are my signs? They're going to be the same, right? If your last one's positive, they're the same, meaning they're either both plus or they're both minus. What do you think? They're both plus. That one tells me they're both plus then. Okay, so we're going to fill in our plus signs. And now we get to start guessing. So do you want, the first part I always plug in is your A's. We have 1 and 2. So do we have any other option? No. So I have 1x and 2x. All right, because I have, if I distribute x times 2x, I should get 2x squared. Okay, don't lose those x's there. Now, on this part, you have options, 1 and 12, 2 and 6, or 3 and 4. I heard different things. 2 and 6? Okay. So if I go 2 and 6. And I'm going to kind of show you some shortcuts as we get going through here, but like I can tell without even a moment's notice that this is wrong, but I'm going to talk you through it, and I'll tell you how I knew that right away. All right, so if we distribute, we had x times 2x, is 2x squared. X times 6, 6x. 2 times 2x. And I know 2 times 6 is my 12. Okay, so you're going to hear me as I talk about this, talk about checking your OI. It's fun to say, OI. Because I know the first 2 are okay because I pulled them from the 1 and the 2. And I know the last 2 should work because I pulled them from my list. So the ones I'm checking is the inside and the outside, the part of FOIL, right? That's the only part I really need to check. So 6x plus 4x gives me 10x. And I wanted 11x. That didn't work. Now, here's my suggestion to you, because this can get very frustrating. Once you're trying this, you'll never see me flip-flop my first terms, but you'll see that I will flip-flop my second ones. Because does it make a difference? If I would put 6 here and 2 here, does it make a difference? It does. Okay, so if I check that again, the inside gives me 12x, outside 2x, and that gives me 14x. Before I got a 10. Now I got a 14. And neither one's right, but do you see how it makes a difference, though? It changes it. So what students have a tendency to want to do is they put it in, they try it, doesn't work. So they flip-flop it, still doesn't work. So then they flip-flop the first two. What have I done if I flip-flop the first two and the last ones? Have I turned it right back into where I started? I have. So you'll notice when I do these, the first two, I never flip-flop. I leave them there. I'll try the second ones. If they don't work, I'll flip them. If they still don't work, discard. I know that those are not good. So we tried 2 and 6 both ways. It did not work. Okay? So let's go back, and I heard 3 and 4. Okay, so 3 and 4. And we try this. So 3 times 2x, x times 4 is 4x, and that gives me 10x. What if I flip them? So I put the 4 here and the 3 here. So inside gives me 8x, outside gives me 3x, and that makes 11x. Yay, it's what I wanted. So the factored form is that right there. X plus 4 and 2x plus 3. Okay, so let's talk. How many of you at some point in your math background have done this before? Good. Did any of you learn it by a grouping method instead? If you've not, great, because I hate when people teach it that way. Good. Don't worry about it, because I'm glad you didn't learn it, because it just makes things harder on you, and it's a pain in the butt to do. Yeah. Some people think it's easier, and like, it helps kids, I think, sometimes to see where the numbers come from a little easier, but oh my God, is it longer. Like if I would give you a page of 10 problems that you to do that way, it would take you forever. And once you get good at this, like, they're fast. Okay, now let me kind of talk, because back to this problem. Right away when you guys said 2 and 6, I'm like, I know that's wrong. I knew it before. I didn't do any math and I knew it was wrong. Let me talk to you about why I knew it was wrong. So let me write up what you had. You had x, 2x, you had 2 and 6, right? Now, since we've talked about GCFs a little bit already, come back to the original problem. Is there a GCF in the whole problem, a number that goes into 2, 11, and 12? No, there's not. The way you had this factored, do you have a GCF sitting in one of these? It shouldn't happen. If you don't have a GCF in the original problem, you should not have a GCF in one of these parentheses either. So like when you put this here, I'm like, oh, 2 goes into both of those. But there was no GCF here. That can't happen. Same thing when you switched it. Right? If you put the 6 here and the 2 here, you still have a GCF there. So I knew without doing any math that that was not right, because there shouldn't be a GCF inside of there. Okay? So just a little trick. Ooh, that can help eliminate some options for you. Okay. Next one. Isn't this fun? I love factoring. It's like my favorite thing to do in math. I'm a bit of a nerd, though. All right. So we set up our parentheses. Let's talk signs. My last one is negative, which means my signs are, they're opposite, which means one's a plus and one's a minus. Now, that being said, does it matter where we put a plus and a minus on things? It does. So here's my suggestion as we move through these. I'm going to stick a plus in one and a minus in the other, and I'm just going to kind of attack this and see where I'm at, and I'll show you another trick if something happens. Okay? All right, so we have to list our options. So options for A. Thank you for an ordered list. I appreciate that. And options for C. Okay, so do we want to go 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? I heard 2 and 2 is the first thing I heard. So 2x and 2x. Now, the only thing we have over there is a 1 and 3. Do you want to go 1 and 3 or 3 and 1? 3 and 1. And it's okay. We'll talk about this. If it's wrong, it's fine. If it's great, if it's right, great. All right. So let's check, right? I only really have to check inside. What's inside give me? 6x. Outside, negative 2x, which is a positive 4x. All right, now let's kind of stop there for a minute. Okay, I got positive 4x, so I'm really close, right? What's wrong with it? It's not the right sign, but is the number right? So how do I change the sign? Flip your signs. Make this one your plus and this one your minus. Because then look what happens when you check this. If I check it, that gives me negative 6x and a positive 2x, which makes negative 4x. So don't panic on your signs. If I know one's plus, one's minus from the start, stick them in. Do your math, and if you get the right number with the wrong sign, just flip them, and then it fixes it. Okay, that's not so bad, right? All right, let's try the next one. Okay, so we are setting up to factor, 2 sets of parentheses. All right, what's your last sign? Positive. If your last one is positive, what do we know? They're the same. So are they both plus or are they both minus? They're both plus. Do you see any minuses anywhere in there? No. But is there any question on how I'm kind of attacking the signs? It's always based on the last sign. Always. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and write our options. Options for A. Yeah, what number is there? 1. So really it's like 1 and 1. So x and x. 1x and 1x. What's wrong, hon? What's wrong? Oh, okay. All right, and then our options for C. All right, so we like these, all right? There's not many options going on here. I have 1 and 1, so I know it's 1x and 1x. And then do you want to go 1 and 8 or 2 and 4? And then we have to check them. So inside gives me 2x. Outside gives me 4x. And putting my like terms together, I get 6x. Did you get the middle one? Yep. So we know this is good. Are you okay? Yeah. To make sure it worked. Yep. Now, let me talk real quick, though. You know, I'm the lazy mathematician. That's why I only check inside, outside. Because I don't want to check anymore, and I have to. But if you're somebody who's like, what happened to everything else? If you would do a full distribute, we get x squared plus 4x plus 2x plus 8. Put your like terms together. We have x squared plus 6x plus 8. And you can see that that is exactly where we started, and I know it worked. So can you do a full distribute so you can see it all if that helps you? Absolutely. Okay, and some teachers require you to do that. I'm a lazy mathematician. Okay? As long as you pull your numbers from up here and up here, then these first and last ones, they should be right. Okay? So then if you want to just check inside, outside, like how I showed you, that's great. Right? So whatever works for you. And eventually, as time goes on, do I expect you to be able to check them in your head? Yeah, eventually I'm sure you will get to that point. Why don't you guys try this one on your own? This one's not so bad. Give this one a go. All right, guys. I told you this was an easy one. Did you agree with me? Yeah. So my last one is a positive. So that means my signs are same. Both plus or both minus? Both plus, because do you see any minuses anywhere? No. All right, my options for A, 1 and 1 or x and x. Options here. All right, so you have options, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, or 4 and 5, and 2 and 10. So then when I check this, we get 2x. It gives me 10x. Like terms gives me 12x, which is exactly what I wanted. So x plus 2 and x plus 10. Now, did anybody write it as x plus 10 and x plus 2? It's the same thing. Yeah, it does not matter. As long as one of your parentheses is x plus 10 and one of them is x plus 2, it doesn't matter which order you have them in. Donnie? Yes. I'm multiplying like 2 times x, x times 10. But these are like terms. You add them. No, you're adding those together. All right. So on the next one, set up our parentheses. My last one is positive. So my signs are the same. Are they both plus or both minus? Both plus, because there are no minuses anywhere in there. Options for A. 1 and 1 or x and x. That's an easy one. 60. Oh, what about 3? What about 5? And 6 and 10? Holy smokes, there's a lot of options there. It's a lot of options. But has anyone picked up on how you can figure out what it is really fast? Christian? Why'd you know it's 4 and 15 right away? Yeah, we're trying to get 19, and he knows that 4 plus 15 is 19. Now, when does that trick not work, though? When you have a number here, using that trick of which ones add to give you the middle, that doesn't work anymore, right? Because when there's an a value, it gives you something besides multiplying it by 1. It's going to change your numbers. But yeah, that's why I would say these are easier when there's a 1 for your a value, because then there's not as much guessing going on. But yeah, if you would check this, 4 times x is 4x. My outside gives me 15x. Like terms, 19x, which is exactly what I wanted. So x plus 4 and x plus 5. All right, let's go back to one that's a little harder. Why is this one a little harder? It's got a number in front of your x squared. It's got an a value. Now, the a value is just a 2, so it's not terrible. But when you get a number out here, they definitely get a little harder. All right, so set up your parentheses. My last one is negative. So my signs are opposites, meaning I have 1 plus and 1 minus. You will notice by default, I always go plus minus. Why? I don't know. I've just always been that way. I always do my plus. I'm a positive person, right? My positive is first, and then my negative. But I don't care. If you're a negative person and you put your negative first, that's on you, not me. All right, so options for A. 1 and 2. Options for C. So not terrible. The ones that make you a little frightened is like when I give you numbers like 12, 24, or 36, because they have a lot of factors. And when you see huge list for A and a huge list for C, that's when you cry a little bit because there's a lot of options to be going on. Here, that's not terrible. I know 1 and 2. Do you want to go 1x, 1 and 2, or 2 and 1? 1 and 2. So 1x. Yeah, too late. I already started red. 1x and 2x. 1 and 25 or 5 and 5? Okay, you guys, hard decision. Do you want to go 5 and 5 or 5 and 5? Okay. I mean, we'll see if you're right or not. I mean, I don't know. All right, so again, when we're checking, inside, that's 10x. Outside, it's a negative 5x. 10x minus 5x, positive 5x. How do we do? I got the 5, but I'm missing the right sign. So I just switched this. That's the plus, this is the minus. right? And again, that's going to flip that to the negative, that to the positive, so it flips all your signs. Okay, so the sign thing, as long as your number's right, I mean, you can just flip-flop those. Let's bypass that one because it's easy. Let's go to one of the harder ones. We're looking at the one with Jasmine on it. Yeah. What were the three numbers I told you that scare people? Yeah, 12, 24, and 36. Those multiples of 12. Look what numbers are on there. Yeah, isn't that fun? That's a fun one. Hey, you're welcome. All right, let's set it up. And I'm hopeful that we can get some bad guesses in here so we can kind of work through the process. If we get it right on the first try every time, it doesn't help you guys figure out the process. All right, so if you know the right answer, I'm going to ask you to not say anything. Are we clear? Because I want to show you the process, because if I get it right on the first try every time, that doesn't teach you anything. All right, so my last sign is negative, so my signs are opposite. 1 plus, 1 minus. Okay, you guys ready? Here we go. Options for A. You skipped one. 312. When you get a list going that's that long, it's a little frightening. Okay? All right, over here. So this is fun. It is fun. And right away, I can look at those lists and I can eliminate some of them. Do you know why I can eliminate? Remember that little trick I showed you about? Is there a GCF in the, yeah, the GCF trick. Is there a GCF in the whole problem to start with? No number goes into 36, 11, and 12. So if I'm putting things in my parentheses, there should be no GCF in those either. So if I pick like 6 and 6, those are both even numbers, right? Is there always an even number grouped over there? I know that can never happen because they divide by 2. So I know this is not a good option. What other one can I eliminate? Two and 18? They're both even. So if I put any of these numbers with them, it's not going to work. And there's another one I can eliminate. 2 and 6. Because I know, again, those have even numbers in them. Even number with an even number, 2 goes into it. I know I can eliminate those. Okay, we still have some choices, though. 1 and 36, 3 and 12, 4 and 9. Again, if you know the right answer, I'm going to ask you not to say it. 3 and 12? So 3x and 12x. 1 and 12 or 3 and 4? You're starting to notice something, aren't you? Because she said 1 and 12. If she goes 1 and 12, do you see the GCF sitting there? That can't happen. So if I go 12 and 1, then a GCF 3 goes into both of these. So if I'm using 3 and 12, I can't use 12 and 1. Could I use 3 and 4? See the GCF? Then you're like, okay, well, it's all right. Let's kind of work through this. I put 4, that no GCF, and 3 goes into both of those. So that means 3 and 12 cannot work. Hold on. Let's talk through nice and slow. We're losing some people here. But do you see how I didn't even have to like check the multiplication on that? I can eliminate. I'm like, oh, that can't work. So 1 and 36 or 4 and 9? 4 and 9. So 4x, 9x. 1 and 12 or 3 and 4? 3 and 4. Can I put the 4 here? Because then they'd have a GCF, right? But I can put the 3 here and the 4 here. We okay so far? No GCF, no GCF? All right, we got our first option to even try, right? 3 times 9x. That's 27x. 4x times negative 4. 27 minus 16, positive 11x. I just need to flip the signs. Yeah, I got the 11x, but my sign's backwards. So I just need to change this one to my negative, that one to my positive. That'll flip all of these. Oh, and it worked. How much math did I actually check? I really only distributed out one of those to see if it works, because I looked for those GCFs in there, right? Those common factors. That's a wonderful trick. It saves you a lot of time. Okay, if you don't look for that, you will sit and distribute and multiply all day long before you find it. I always feel bad for the kids who, like, I can see in their work they had it at some point, but when they checked their work, their basic math was wrong, and then they assumed they never found it, and they kept trying stuff. I'm like, oh, you had it like your first try. Yeah, it's sad. Should this one be an easier one or a harder one? Easier, right? There's no a value there. Try this one on your own. Hang tight. All right, so on here, set up our parentheses. Which sign do we look at? The last sign. I cannot stress that enough. The last sign. My last one is negative. That means my signs are opposite. 1 plus, 1 minus. Did I even look at the other sign at all? No, I did not. Last sign was negative. 1's plus, 1's minus. I know that right away. All right, options for A. Just 1 and 1, so x and x. Options for C. Good. 1 and 21, 3 and 7. So do you want to go 1 and 21 or 3 and 7? 3 and 7? So 3 and 7. And then we check to make sure it worked. Inside gives me a positive 3x. Outside gives me a negative 7x. 3 minus 7, negative 4x. And I wanted negative 4x. So x plus 3 and x minus 7 is the correct factoring. Okay? Good? Yes? All right. And then I asked you to go ahead and start this one as well. So set up your parentheses. What is your last sign? Positive. Last one's positive. They're the same. So are they both plus or are they both minus? Both minus. Otherwise, you're never going to get that minus in there. Okay, but I need you to see last one's positive, same sign, meaning they're both plus or they're both minus. Right? All right, options for A. Options for C. Okay, so you want to go 1 and 4 or 2 and 2? 2 and 2. 2x and 2x. 3 and 5. Okay, so if we check, we get negative 6x. That gives me negative 10x, which makes negative 16x. And it's exactly what we wanted. So we are done. Since my last sign is positive, that means the same sign, meaning they're either both plus or they're both minus. If you make them both pluses, you're never going to get a negative 16 in there. So they have to both be minus. All right, I'm going to bypass this one and move on to 5x squared plus 22x minus 15. Yeah. She looks great for her age. All right, guys. Again, I want to drill into you the order that I'm doing this in, right? I set up my parentheses. I look at my last sign, and I see it's negative, so my signs are opposite, meaning 1 is plus, 1 is minus. All right, I've not even looked at my numbers yet, right? I have signs in before anything else. Options for A. Good, not many options. Options for C. All right, so not many options. We like this. So my only options for A is 1x and 5x. My options for C, you want to go 1 and 15 or 3 and 5? Oh, why'd you say 5 and 3? Yeah, if you would write 3 here and 5 here, red flag? See the GCF? So I can't put them in that order, but can I put 5 and then 3? Yeah, I could put the 5 here and the 3 here, because now there's no GCF in the parentheses. Okay, so if I check, 5 times 5x is 25x. Outside, minus 3x. 25 minus 3, positive 22x. Positive 22x, so I know it works. And I am done. So I need from you guys to give me just a little sign so I can read you a little bit. Thumbs up, I got this. Not really sure, or I have no idea what's going on. Just so I can kind of see where we're at as a class. Okay.